everyone, welcome to yet another episode of ARA Anxiety. Am I having lipstick on my teeth? Anyway, welcome to yet another episode of Anxiety Recovery with Albright. If you're new here or you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Madeline Albright and I use my own recovery from severe sensitization, severe anxiety and chronic depression to help others who are struggling. So if you have not subscribed yet, can you kindly hit that subscription button? Anytime I post a new video, anytime I'm live, you'll be able to get notified. Otherwise, let's get into the video. So when in my 6 years of being in the anxiety cycle, one of the biggest questions that I always used to ask myself, because I had, when you're struggling with anxiety, even by the time you accept that this is anxiety, you have visited a couple of doctors. Because for the first time when I was diagnosed with anxiety, I still didn't believe it. I thought that doctor, maybe they don't know what they're doing. So I went to another doctor in another region. They still said I had anxiety. I then visited another doctor. They all said it's anxiety. So I had to accept that this is anxiety, because 3 doctors who don't know each other saying the same thing, that was definitely anxiety. So for me, generally when we were growing up, all we used to know is that anxiety is an emotion. Even to people who don't struggle with anxiety, people who don't struggle with the disordered type of anxiety, all they know is anxiety is an emotion. Maybe you have seen a threat somewhere and this thing is making you anxious. Maybe you did a mistake somewhere and you're waiting for the consequence. That's anxiety as an emotion. But why, if really it was anxiety, why was I experiencing those intense physical symptoms even when I was not anxious? Why was I having the chronic heart palpitations, the intrusive thoughts, the feelings of unreality, the panic attacks? How was it anxiety? And to make matters worse is that, okay, I understand it can be anxiety, but why was I experiencing anxiety even when I was not anxious, even when I was reading a book, even when I was out with my friends, even when I was watching a movie, even when being intimate? Anxiety even can affect your intimacy with your partner. I'm going to talk about that, how anxiety lowers, someone's libido, how it affects someone's sex life. Because when I don't even remember if I ever got laid when I was struggling with anxiety, because who has the time to think of sex? Who thinks of erotics when they are in the anxiety cycle, when they are in survival? All you think about is yourself, your symptoms, anxiety. You don't have time to think about sex. I'm gonna make a specific video on how anxiety affects someone's sex life. So let's get back to what we were, the discussion of this video is that, have you ever asked yourself, why do you experience anxiety symptoms even when you're not anxious? That's what we want to talk about this video, why you experience symptoms even when you're not anxious, and how you're supposed to respond to those symptoms so that you can be free of them. So if that's something that you are struggling, if that's a question that you have always asked yourself, make sure to stay tuned up to the end of this video. So when I was doing my research about this anxiety thing, I used to encounter people who used to say, or when you guys reach out to me, there are people who experience mild symptoms. Their symptoms are not 24/7. Then there are people who have symptoms 24/7. I used to have symptoms 24/7 without a break. So when I was doing my research and someone writes that, I only have symptoms sometimes of the day, I was just like, wow, because me, this is something I wake up and all I think about is anxiety. The first thing on my mind is anxiety. I go to sleep, that's the last thing I think about. And I'm sure there are a couple of people who most anxiety sufferers experience symptoms 24/7. So the reason why someone experiences symptoms 24/7, even when you're not anxious, you just feel like you're having these chronic heart palpitations, you're having this dizziness, you're having this, numbness, the intrusive thoughts, the panic attacks, is that, first of all, probably when you're struggling with anxiety, you are always performing second fears. What are second fears? Second fears are the worrying, the overanalyzing, the overthinking, the fighting, the resisting. You are always performing second fears. You're always trying to do something to make anxiety symptoms go away. You're always trying to do something to, suppress how you feel, to feel better. And this is the vicious loop. This is what drives the anxiety cycle. Every time when you're in that state, every time always ask yourself, what am I doing now to try and resist this anxiety? Is it internally? Is it is it mentally? Is it physically? Anything you do to try and stop having those symptoms, is what drives the anxiety cycle. So most anxiety sufferers are always resisting their symptoms, they're always fighting, they're always trying to make them stop, they're always trying to make them go away, and this drives the vicious cycle. So you might be asking yourself, why am I having symptoms 24/7? While in that current state, when you're asking yourself that question, you're probably doing something to make the anxiety symptoms go away. The second thing is that someone who is struggling with anxiety is always chronically stressed. They're always, when you're chronically stressed, when you're struggling with anxiety, you're gonna have symptoms 24/7. Our body responds to stress chronic stress with anxiety. So you're gonna have symptoms 24/7. So you are having fear of the fear. You are having fear of, you know, the heart palpitations, because the heart palpitations is the fear, and this drives the anxiety cycle because your brain keeps pumping the stress hormones into your body because you are always chronically in this state. So when you're having the stress hormones 24/7, of course you're gonna be anxious 24/7 because also you are fearful 24/7. Another thing is that someone struggling from anxiety, you know, their nervous system has reached a certain threshold with stress. You can't take in as much stress. So even a small trigger, even when there is no real threat, you're gonna be triggered because your nervous system has reached a state where it can't take your stress anymore. You have a tired nervous system. You have overwhelmed your body and brain and your nerves with stress. Now it can't take it anymore. So anything. That's why even small stress, even when there is nothing really making you anxious, you're gonna be anxious. Even the smallest things trigger you. Even a dorsal used to trigger me. Even like a pat on my back used to trigger me. This is because I was chronically sensitized. My nerves were sensitized because I had overwhelmed it with stress. Now it couldn't handle my stress anymore. When someone first had a panic attack, the way they reacted, the subconscious part of the brain has not yet recovered from that. It will take time for the subconscious part of the brain to be rewired. That's why I always say we are in the process of retraining our minds, of rewiring our brains, because the way you reacted when you first had that panic attack, your subconscious part of the brain has not yet recovered from that. So it will take time. So maybe when you're watching a movie, the subconscious will always be like, okay, I need you to rewire me. So it keeps on sending like, okay, is there a threat? It keeps on sending those, you know, thoughts, those heart palpitations, maybe if there is a threat. And when you continue reacting with the way you reacted the first time, you are sinking deeper into the anxious loop. That's why in my program, I teach people how to respond to anxiety symptoms, not to react, because right now you are reacting to anxiety symptoms, which is keeping you stuck in the anxiety cycle. The best way is to respond, and that's one of the things that I teach in my program. Also, something with anxiety is that the way you see it also matters. It's part of anxiety recovery is also about mindset. How are you seeing it? Are you seeing it as an enemy that has come to destroy your life, an enemy that has come to, you know, take away your peace, or you're seeing it as just excess adrenaline being burnt off in the body? Because that's what it is. If you see it as an enemy, then it will present you exactly that. But if you see that this is just excess adrenaline being burnt off in my body and it's being released in form of these heart palpitations, in form of these panic attacks, then that's a different way of you seeing it, and it actually perpetuates your recovery. You kind of change how you see it, and that one adds onto your recovery. One of the mistakes that I did when I was struggling with anxiety, or one of the mistakes that many anxiety sufferers do, is try to figure out what is causing their anxiety at that particular moment. Let's say you were having fun with your partner, or you were watching a movie, and then you start hearing like you're having heart palpitations. So you start worrying, you start figuring out, okay, what might be causing these heart palpitations? Is it the alcohol that I'm taking? Is it the coffee that I'm taking? Is it what I did? What is causing my anxiety? And when you worry adds more stress to your already tired nerves. Worry perpetuates the anxiety cycle. So if you worry, you are engaging more of your brain. Worrying is more thinking, so therefore it perpetuates the anxiety cycle. What you need to know, I've given you reasons why you are having symptoms 24/7. It's not about what you have done at that particular moment. It's not about maybe you are not doing the right thing. It's just about your brain still needs wiring. You have been in the anxiety cycle for a very long time, so it's not like there is a magic pill or something that's just gonna happen and push you out of the anxiety cycle. It takes time. You're still gonna have setbacks, you're still gonna be triggered. So it is very normal to have anxiety even when you're not sensitized. The body produces symptoms even when there is nothing around that is causing you to be anxious. It is very normal with anxiety. So don't despair when you are experiencing symptoms even when you're not anxious. It is very common, and it's just about, if you learn 1, 2, 3 things, and also how you respond to anxiety at that particular moment, you will retrain your brain, you will rewire your brain, and as a consequence you will overcome those symptoms of anxiety. So if you feel like anxiety has affected your quality of life, anxiety has affected your general wellness, you have been in the anxiety cycle for a long time, and you don't need to figure out all these things on your own. You need a helping hand out of the anxiety cycle. Use this WhatsApp to message me, or use this email to reach out to me. I help people overcome anxiety disorders permanently. I hold your hand out of the anxiety cycle. I don't use breathing techniques. I don't know yoga. I don't know meditation. You have tried all those things. I tried all those things and none of that worked. So that's not what I teach people. I teach you the natural way to overcome anxiety symptoms. I teach you about understanding anxiety, you know, how the body and mind works, your behaviors that are keeping you stuck in the anxiety cycle. I point out your resistance and the method that I use to recover from anxiety. You don't have to do all this on your own. You don't have to figure out all this on your own while I'm here. Give me the chance. You have tried everything and nothing is working. I will walk you out of the anxiety cycle permanently. You know, you need to let go of the anxiety subject and, you know, live your life. If you feel like anxiety has wasted your time, use this WhatsApp and or this email to reach out to me. Make sure to like if you have watched up to this point. Make sure to a thumbs up for this video, you know, share to those who may need it. Which one? Comment down below if there's anything that you want me to talk about, and make sure to also subscribe to this channel. Otherwise, let's meet on the next. Bye.